Now that was a roller coaster of an episode.
Fire just to know that I'm awake.
Hey folks, it's Charlie here, and I am coming to you all in order to give my thoughts on episode 5 of the Shannara Chronicles, entitled Reaper. As always, this review does not have any major book spoilers, but I will be talking about the events from the episode, and I will be giving some minor comparisons between the show and the book, so don't watch this review if that is an issue for you. As I said, this was an intense episode from start to finish. We had flashbacks, we had sex, we opened with a murder, and we ended this episode with another murder, so let me just try to put some order to this chaos. First off, I absolutely love that we get to see some backstory on Amberly's father, which isn't something we see in the books. You can just tell they were incredibly close, which just makes his murder by Slanter the gnome all the more devastating. Speaking of Slanter, I am so happy they introduced another race in the form of gnomes this episode, and again, there isn't much in the way of interaction between the gnomes and the elves as a whole in the books, but considering how dangerous the demons are, it's crazy that even Prince Ander and some of his fellow elves can overlook the murder of his oldest brother and potentially look to the gnomes for help in the face of the looming demon invasion, which pretty much shows that the demons aren't something we should take lightly. And we clearly get to see that from the epic appearance of the Reaper this episode, but more on him in a bit, because first I want to talk about some of the relationships and love triangle affairs, or lack thereof, that were shown this episode. Now let's talk about the Ander, Commander Tilton, Arian love triangle. This dynamic left me with more questions than answers, since we see the flashback scene of Ander and Tilton hooking up, and then we fast forward to Tilton and Ander's older brother Arian kissing. It really makes me want to know what exactly went wrong there and what made Tilton switch between the two brothers. It certainly is a bit of a weird position to be in, and I'm really looking forward to see how this gets resolved in the show. I also have a hunch this will probably lead to some conflict between the two brothers, considering Tilton ends up traveling with Ander, and this just might lead to some rekindling of their old flame. Oh, and did Ander really just say this?
If you have a better idea, I'm all points.
You do.
As for the Amberly, Will, Eritrea triangle, it's obviously still in its early stages, but I will say this much. This is probably the first time I've ever witnessed a fantasy series with elves who speak in an American accent and talk so openly and freely about sex, like they do. Granted, it is set in the far future, so I guess there is some sense to it. I also like that little budding of affection between Bandhan and Catania. Both are interesting characters not present in the books, so again, this is another relationship I want to see grow. That said, Bandhan did say one thing that I thought was a little weird, and that was this.
Demons slaughtered my family. Took everything that I ever loved.
I mean, didn't your parents have you locked up in their basement with a mask on? So did you really have all that much to care for? I'm just saying. I would consider the highlight of Bandhan's life was his current training with Alanon, actually, which looks like it was cut short this episode since the Dagdamor captures him, leaving us on a bit of a cliffhanger for his arc. But speaking of the Dagdamor, one couple I can't wrap my mind around is his relationship with the Changeling. I didn't think they were going to insist on it so much, but goddamn, those two are so freaking creepy together. Anyway, let's move on to some of this episode's plot points. So first thing I enjoyed was the conflict we saw between the Rover and the Elven party. We get a bit more of an appropriate introduction to the guard leader of Crispin, who plays a significant role in the books. And while I did imagine him to be a little older, he is coming across as the same tough guy he is presented to be in the books. Although I wish we could have seen him and his guards fight a little bit better this episode. So the elves did leave me wanting a little more in that department. The human rovers, on the other hand, were full of surprises. What I found pleasantly surprising was the way in which Eritrea turned around and pretty much threw her freedom to the wind just to save Amberly. She defs had a much more active tough girl role this episode, and in spite of her father's behavior in the first half of this episode, he was slightly redeemed towards the end following the arrival of the Reaper and his efforts in killing it. Now, the Reaper was absolutely the best part of this episode. Although it wasn't as I envisioned in the books, it was still so terrifying to look at. The added fact that it pretty much wiped out an entire elven base clearly shows that it is something from a nightmare. So he is hands down my favorite bad guy from the series by a mile so far. And come on, even if Cephalo stopped it at the end of this episode, there is no way something that powerful is dead, in my opinion. Last but not least, for this episode, I can't believe the Changeling killed King Eventine. I really hope he isn't dead, but that is unlikely, which is so sad considering the episode opens with the death of his oldest son, and now it looks like the king himself is dead with a demon in charge of the elves. Madness. Anyway, folks, I will leave it at that. Please let me know what you liked about this episode and what you disliked about it, and how you are enjoying the series so far in the comment section below. Unfortunately, I will be on hiatus for the next week, but I will be discussing episode 6 and 7 together in the following week. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.